It's 1925 and Paris is trying to rebuild after the war, but money is scarce. You read daily in the newspaper how the citizens of Paris are complaining about the high cost of keeping the Eiffel Tower in top shape, rusting, repairing, repainting. It's all very costly. Some Parisians even think the tower is ugly and pointless after the World's Fair. A smart man reads these articles very carefully. His name is Victor Lustig. He is not French. He is not an engineer, nor is he a government official. He is a professional swindler, and he has just found the perfect opportunity. He poses an odd question to himself. What if people could be made to believe the government wanted to remove the Eiffel Tower? Lustig prepares as a businessman would, not a thief. He creates official-looking papers from the government. He examines the names used by actual French officials. He leases a luxury suite at the Crillon Hotel, which politicians and diplomats frequented. Then he writes formal letters to 6 wealthy scrap metal traders in Paris. The letters bear official seals which indicate that the writers are invited to a secret government meeting. The businessmen are amazed, interested, and also looking forward. Why secret? Why them? And why the Eiffel Tower? Exactly the reaction Lustig wanted. The men enter the hotel. Lustig receives them looking like a high-ranking government official. Lustig talks in a calm, confident, and authoritative tone. He argues that it is too costly to maintain the Eiffel Tower. It would not look good for the government to admit this in public. Therefore, it has chosen to sell it to someone as scrap metal. The silence is complete in the room. The men look at one another. They are gazing at what could possibly be the biggest business deal of their lives. Lustig arranges for them to visit the Eiffel Tower privately by posing as an official in charge of the project. When you see the tower, you understand the lie is real. Among the 6 men, one stands out. Poisson. He is new to the scrap business and desperate to prove himself among established businessmen. Lustig notices his insecurity immediately. Lustig knows something important. The best target is not the smartest man, but the one who wants success the most. After the meeting, Lustig invites Poisson for a private conversation. He lowers his voice and changes his tone. He says, "Government officials like me are poorly paid. If you want this contract, you understand, a small personal appreciation would help." Poisson now believes 2 things. This deal is real, and bribery makes it even more believable. Poisson pays Lustig a large bribe, and the deal is signed by Poisson. He hands over a huge amount of money in return for the rights to dismantle the Eiffel Tower. Lustig accepts the cash and leaves Paris for Austria the next morning. Days go by. Poisson makes arrangements to start the disassembly of the tower, and then the terrible truth dawns. He has been scammed, but he is too embarrassed to report this to the police. How does he explain that he bought the Eiffel Tower from a stranger? Lustig knew this would happen. Weeks later, Lustig reads the newspapers in Austria. There is no report, no scandal, no investigation. He smiles. Why not do it again? If nobody reports a crime, he goes back to Paris. He goes through the same scenario again, identical words and actions, with a new group of scrap metal merchants. The same letter, the same hotel, the same scenario. However, this time around, one of these individuals becomes suspicious and alerts the police. Lustig feels the danger just before the trap is set. Again, Lustig escapes from Paris and goes to America. He has just sold the Eiffel Tower twice. Lustig continues with his career in the United States. He sells fake money printing machines that duplicate dollars. He cheats bankers. He scams investors. He enjoys a luxurious lifestyle paid for by lies alone. But his overconfidence grows. He then starts counterfeiting authentic US dollars, and this eventually gets the attention of the Secret Service. Unlike embarrassed businessmen in Paris, the American authorities are relentless. In 1935, Lustig is at last caught by the police. However, as he undergoes questioning, it is revealed that he had a history of similar scams, with the Eiffel Tower scam sending shockwaves to everybody. He is then sent to the notorious prison, Alcatraz. The man who duped Europe's businessman comes to a tragic close in jail on some remote island. Victor Lustig never used guns, he never forced anyone, he used just psychology, confidence, paperwork, and human greed. He had grasped something so powerful, people didn't get scammed because they were dumb. They get scammed because they wish to believe in opportunity. The Eiffel Tower was never for sale, but for one point in history at least, a number of astute businessmen thought it was, and one man went away richer. Twice in the backdrop we can see the figure of Victor Lustig in New York. The city lights sparkle as he plans his next move. He presents a strange machine called the money duplicator. Clients watch the machine in great anticipation as real money comes rolling out. Their excitement is unmatched. However, what they did not know was that Lustig placed the money in the machine earlier. Some of the mental tricks play on human greed. News of Lustig's major scams begins surfacing in the worldwide press, yet he always seems one step ahead of the law. He constantly reinvents himself as a European aristocrat, a high-ranking official, or a wealthy businessman. All his disguises are perfect, his accents flawless, his secret to his power, he could be anybody, anywhere, anytime. In the meantime, trouble starts brewing for him. One of his buyers becomes suspicious and starts keeping a close eye on Lustig's activities. He reports to the police. An international pursuit by the police follows. Lustig feels the danger closing in around him. In his characteristic calm and calculating demeanor, he gets out of New York just in time. He leaves behind a trail of stunned victims and an international media frenzy around his audacity. At last Lustig is apprehended, but even in prison his mind has not been dulled. He has observed other prisoners and read their signs of emotional intelligence. We see that Lustig's true strength had not been his wealth and weapons, but his understanding of the nature of the mind, trust, and ambition. His scams are actually tutorials on the weaknesses of the mind. The Eiffel Tower slowly fades away in the background as a voiceover narrates. The Eiffel Tower was never really for sale, yet for a brief period of time in history, an ingenious man convinced the world that it was. Victor Lustig teaches us that an economic scam isn't built on machines or weapons, but rather on levels of trust, greed, and the psychological makeup of people. Verify, question, and most importantly, don't ever let pride come before common sense. Years later, after Lustig's arrest, the legend of Victor Lustig begins to emerge with a life of its own, well beyond the walls of the prison cell. Biographers, journalists, and financial experts analyze his techniques. How did these intelligent businessmen fall for such a ridiculous scam? The answer is not stupidity, it is structure, upmarket surroundings, official papers, mannered conversations. Lustig never hurried his marks, he let them come to their own conclusions. Later, experts would break down his approach as authority layering. First, he established his credentials by environment, then he layered in the element of exclusivity, finally he layered in the element of urgency. By the time the cash changed hands, the marks had come up with the idea themselves. Lustig didn't sell the Eiffel Tower, he sold an idea, and an idea combined with greed is a toxic cocktail. What made Lustig so dangerous wasn't the speed, it was the precision. He had studied his marks. He applied the right amount of pressure so the deal would feel like it had to be made, but not so much it felt forced. Today, the Eiffel Tower stands proudly over the city of Paris, untouched and stronger than ever. However, there was a time when the prominent business leaders of the time thought it was for sale. Lustig's story shows one thing: the greatest scams are based upon confidence, not complexity. The Eiffel Tower wasn't disassembled. Belief, however, nearly disassembled it.